I'm Steve Turano with Ask a Real Expert. Roger asked this question. He said, Steve, what's the difference between strength and muscular hypertrophy, meaning muscle growth? He says, and also, what about nerve and fiber recruitment? Well, this is a great question because it offers a certain amount of insight into a variety of topics. Powerlifting training versus bodybuilding training and the results you get. Why is it easier to regain muscle that you had versus getting it in the first place? So this opens up just sort of a Pandora's box of topics, and you know, I'm not quite sure of the answer, and I don't think a lot of scientists are because there are so many factors involved. You got to remember, I think certain people are born into certain sports, meaning you can make somebody faster, but you know, you got to be born to be an Olympic sprinter. You can make somebody a better jumper, but you really have to be born with the physical qualities to become a high jumper, and so on and so forth. And I think that's true of bodybuilding and or powerlifting. But let's look at some of these concepts and you can draw your own conclusions. With regards to muscular hypertrophy, making a muscle bigger, and with regards to making a muscle stronger, either way, you have to place a demand on that muscle. And that demand is an intense muscular contraction. Now the difference between powerlifting and bodybuilding is how many of those contractions are you going to use? We know that it only requires a few maximal contractions to start the strength training process. And many people experience that because they say, you know, Steve, my strength is going up, but I'm not getting any bigger. And that's very similar to how a powerlifter trains. And again, I'm not a power lifter, I just have some of those wacky, crazy guys at the gym. But they don't do tremendous volumes of work. They get in there and they do bench press. They may have, this week we're doing 8 reps, and next week we're doing 6 reps, and next week we're doing 4 reps, and they pyramid their sets. But they don't do as much volume work as, let's say, a bodybuilder who's going to do 5 sets of bench press, 4 sets of incline bench press, dumbbell flies, cable flies. So the volume is different. So again, you think in terms of we've got maximal contractions occurring with both sports, but the bodybuilding creates greater volume of these maximal contractions, possibly creating greater muscular hypertrophy. Again, you have to draw your own conclusions because, again, I think that if a guy is going to be a powerlifter, he still has to be born into it if he's going to be great at it. And vice versa. Somebody's going to be a bodybuilder, I don't care how they train, they still have to have that potential. So you think in terms of, again, work. How much muscular work and how much nerve innervation. How many times that nerve is fired leading to that muscle. Another factor, which leads us to the fact of muscle memory. You've got to work your ass off to make your muscles bigger and stronger. But let's say you got to go in for surgery and you have to take 2 or 3 months off. You lose your muscle mass. But in 2 or 3 months, you gain a lot of your size back, and probably after 4 or 5 or 6 months, you might regain a lot of your strength. And that initial size took 4 or 5 years to gain. Why is that? One of the theories is that the neural pathways, meaning the nerve pathways to that muscle, have memory, that it's already been established. I mean, I can flex my bicep, but the fact that I lifted weights and barbells and dumbbells, it really intensified or set that neural pathway, causing a greater muscular contraction. And it happens much more effectively, it happens much more readily. Almost think of it as gaining coordination. If you've ever had a nerve injury in your arm or something, you don't have the same coordination as you did. And I've done a video on this where people say, man, my right arm is so much stronger than my left arm. It isn't. It's just that the coordination in the right arm is greater than the left arm, allowing them to implement that strength more effectively. So without getting too technical into, Z-lines and A-bands and sarcomeres and all that stuff, these are some simple things to think about with regards to training. And you got to take this information and apply it to whatever type of body or whatever type of training you like or want to achieve. But either way, powerlifting, bodybuilding, you do have to overload the muscle, creating a greater muscular contraction, creating greater muscular growth and strength. I'm Steve Turano. Train smart, train hard.